So the test, I don't expect you to have these formulas memorized. They will be given to you. But you do need to know what these items are, okay? So let's go ahead and fill in what those items are in words, okay? So the A is your final value or ending value, however you want to put it. And that's A, not B. I said A, but I sure didn't put it. Okay. So A is your final value. I don't know why I started with A. I'm so sorry. P is your starting value, sometimes referred to as the principal. Okay. I is the interest. So interest is how much money you have gained in an account. The formula on the left gives you the interest. The formula on the right gives you the total value. So if they want the interest, you have to subtract the initial value from the final value to see how much you've gained. So be careful about that. So this formula, again, gives you the interest. This formula gives you the final value, because you have to add the interest on to the original amount. This formula gives you the final value, the A, instantly. So be mindful of that. The R is the rate. You want to use the decimal value. Make sure you're using that decimal value. So example, 7% is the same as 0.07. On a calculator, this calculator has a percent button on the, if you look at the parenthesis on the calculators, to get to that little yellow percent sign, you have to hit second first. So this calculator does have that option. Percent means per 100, so if you forget what to do, that decimal, just it moves over 2 to the left. 100 has 2 zeros, it divides by 100. T is time in years, so make sure that if it says months, you got to divide by 12. So it should always say years. And then N is the number of times per year that the account compounds. Now on the quiz, I'm going to give you the formulas that you see here. Those are a given. I'll give those to you. You don't have to have those memorized. But you do need to know what those 6 values are, obviously, because you can't plug into the formulas right if you don't know what is given. I will have at the top exactly what you see here. I will say this one's simple and this one's compounded. I will give you the formulas. I will have a blank spot that you fill those in, okay? So that being said, let's look at these ones. I'm going to be a little bit forgiving on the rounding in case you round a little off. Please try to wait in the calculator until you're right near the end, then round to the nearest penny, okay? So let's look at this first section here. These first ones here, those first 4 are simple interest. So we're going to stick out in this column over to the left here. It says find the ending balance for each. We're going to round to the nearest penny. So let's look at problem number 1. The first problem, for all of this little section, we're going to use I equals P times R times T. And I could write that a little nicer. I equals P times R times T. Okay. And so what is a good rule of thumb to identify what's what? Along the side, your starting balance would be 30,000. Your rate is 4%. Now you either have to use that percentage button on the calculator, or if you divide by 100, that's 0.04. That just moves that decimal 2 places to the left, okay? And then our time is 3. Now, what you have to be mindful about in this section, when we do the interest, which is just going to be 30,000 times 0.04 times 3, that just gives us the interest. It doesn't answer the final question. So 30,000 times 0.04 times 3 is $3,600 in interest. Now, if you stop there, you're going to get some credit because you're close. But to get the full credit, you have to tell me the ending balance. The ending balance is A. So let's just do some logical thinking here. We had 30,000. We gained 3,600. So just add those two together. Your final answer that I want to see is $33,600. So you would add your starting balance plus any interest they have given you. So that's what we're going to do for problems 1 through 4. You do have to be mindful of some of the wording of them. Let's take a look at number 2. Can somebody tell me what's the 2,500? What?
Starting value.
It's the starting value, so it's our P. What's the 8%? The rate, or R. How do we write that so that we can easily put it into a calculator? We want that decimal. 8% is what decimal? 0.08 or 0.08. In some applications, showing that front 0 is essential. Your calculator doesn't need it. If you put 0.08, that's fine. Just make sure you have a 0 between the point and the 8. You're good to go. Your time is 5 years. So we're now ready to put it into the interest formula. So we're going to do 2,500 times 0.08 times 5. Now remember, that's going to give us our interest. And that interest is $1,000. So to find your ending balance, just take your starting balance, add on that interest for a total of $3,500. Okay. There's a rule of 7s in business. If you invest something for 7 years at 7% compounded interest, you get like double your money at the end. So interest can really add on to your investment. Nowadays, unless you do the stock market, savings accounts, they only get, like you saw when we did that research, they barely get any interest at all. Okay. Now, number 3, we do have a 2.5 there. I'm going to show you alternative ways to enter that into your calculator. We do have, that is years, so we do have that. That's good. Okay. So our P is still that 3,350, our starting amount. Our rate, 2.5%. That decimal moves over 2 places, so we still have a 0 in front of the 2. So that would be 0.025. And just tack that 5 onto the end. No big deal. Okay? So that's our rate. Now let's throw in our time. Now the time, these calculators that you got, the red ones, like the big calculator on the wall, if you hit that ABC button, the way that you hit it is you put in the 2, you hit the ABC button. Isn't that what it says? Yeah, well, it looks like this. It looks like that. So you hit I call it the ABC button. You hit the ABC button, then you hit the 1, then you hit the ABC button, then you hit the 2. That's how you enter 2 1/2 as a fraction on those calculators. If you know that 2 1/2 is the decimal 2.5, you don't need the ABC button, but feel free to use it. It doesn't hurt anything to use either 2.5 or 2 1/2 as a fraction. Both are fine. You decide how you like to use it. It doesn't matter to me. They'll both get you the same answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it. I want you to take a minute and try to set up number 3 yourself. So then you can compare if you're thinking right. Go ahead and try to set up number 3 and get that done. And then I'll show you the answer, and you can compare your work with my work, and you're good to go. So give it a shot, and I'll give you a minute or two, and then we'll do it together. Yeah.
Just like that, right?
Yep, perfect. Oh, wait, stop. You had this switch. So the compounded monthly goes under here. So that would be 12 in the bottom there.
Oh, okay.
Not the time that's in the
So
compounded.
it's not
12.
like the year, it's not in the amount of years that you're doing it for, it's like.
It's this word.
Okay.
Yep,
So
that
if it was
shows up
like-
twice.
If it was like, twice yearly, then it would be 2.
2 and 2, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then like right here, would it be, where would your unit be like?
That's an A,
A.
because it immediately gives you your final amount.
And what are we finding like at the end?
Usually just that. That's what's
A.
nice about that formula. It just
So
kind
it's
of,
just A
it does
equals A
it.
equals A.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay.
Okay. So for this one, if you enter that into your calculator, now be careful. It says 209.375. So since it has more than that 2 decimal places, we've got to round to the nearest penny. If this number here is 5 or larger, round up. If it is anything less than 5, keep it the way it is. So you would want to make that $209.38. And remember, you're not done until you add the original amount plus the new interest to the nearest penny. And so your answer, I hope you got when you tried it yourself, was $3,559.38. Everybody good there? Okay. Now let's take a look at number 4. For number 4, our P is 500. Our rate is 0.047. So remember, you need to go under that 4 and add a 0. Now here we have a month. So we always need our time in years. So just divide by 12. 6 divided by 12. You can put into your calculator when you get to the time spot, you can actually just put 6 divided by 12. You don't have to do it twice. Or you can get the decimal point 5 originally. That works as well. But let me show you kind of the easiest method here. It would be 500 times 0.047 times 6 over 12 is fine. 6 over 12 is the same as 1/2, is the same as 0.5. Any of those equivalents are going to get you the same thing. Again, you're going to get a funky decimal. Oh, you don't get a funky decimal. You get a pretty nice number. You get $11.75. So your final answer isn't $11.75. You got to take the 500 plus $11.75 for a total of $511.75. Okay, so everybody good with the simple interest formulas? These simple interest formulas? Okay, now if you're doing it on paper, now we are moving on to the compounded interest formula. I'm going to write the formula at the top. If you want to write the formula at the top of your page as reference, and you don't have to keep flipping. Tomorrow, you're going to have to flip. But anyway, it's A equals P times the quantity of 1 plus R over N times NT. Okay, so that's the formula we're going to be using for this back section. We have 4 like this. Let's go ahead and answer question number 5. Now, again, we're finding the ending balance. The ending balance is A. So the great thing about the compounded interest formula is it actually gives you that instantly. There's no secondary formula we have to use. So let's do number 5 together. So our starting value is $20,000. Our rate is 4%. Remember to write that as 0.04 or use that percent button. Either will work. The time is 2 years. So you still pull out the same information like we did for the first 4 problems, except now we have this N thing that pops up. They said they're going to compound the interest monthly. The N is how many times that would happen then in a year. How many months are there in a year? 12. So that's why our n will be 12. Now, I'm going to remind you how to enter those things into the formula without doing funky things in your calculator, just so that you can make sure that the calculator is only as smart as the person's going to enter the information in. So we want it to be smart. So you're going to do your 20,000 times the quantity of 1 plus. Now you're going to put your R value, which is that decimal, divided by your N value, which is 12. So that's what that was in your parenthesis. And then your power is the N value times the T value. The N value times the T value. N is 12, T is 2. So let's just take a minute, and I want to show you what's the best way to enter that into your calculator. Most of these, this part right here, you can do in your head. If not, I would suggest doing it in the calculator. 12 times 2 is what? What's 12 times 2? 24, right? So I would suggest making that 24, because if you don't make that 24, you must surround the 12 and the 2 with parentheses. And so it just makes it so that you don't have to forget doing that. If you don't put the 12 and the 2 in parentheses, the calculator doesn't understand it. Just thinks the 12 is supposed to be there, but not the 2. So that's why I think making that a 24 is a really good thing. Now at this point, you can put the whole thing into a calculator. Your calculator, you can do 20,000. You can hit the times and then the parenthesis, or if the 20,000 is backed up against the parenthesis, your calculator is going to believe that's multiplication, which it is. And then you have to do 1 plus 0.04 divided by 12. End your parenthesis, put it to a power of 24. And so the number you get is funky. These formulas rarely give you just 2 decimal places. So we have to look at this spot right here. If that spot right there is 5 or higher, just round up to 86 cents. So our final answer would be $21,662.86. A good rule of thumb: if you started out with $20,000 and all of a sudden you have like $1 million, question how you entered it into the calculator. Same thing if you start out with $20,000 and all of a sudden your answer is only 500. What did you enter incorrectly? Okay, because they've added on to the 20,000. 21,000's reasonable answer, and so just using that to kind of gauge your answer is probably a pretty good idea. Everybody good with problem 5? Okay, let's do 6. So our p-value is 2,000. Our rate is 5%, but remember, use 0.05. Our time, we just get 6. That's pretty good. Now, semi-annually, if you think about the word semi, you're cutting it something in half. So semi-annually means that this is twice per year. So in this case, our n is 2. Our n is 2. Okay. So now that you have the p, the r, the t, and the n, that's what you need for this formula. We're ready to plop that sucker right into the formula, okay? So if we put it into the formula, you put your p first, then your parentheses. So we're going to get 1 plus 0.05 divided by 2. And then our power is going to be 6 times 2. And I would suggest doing the 6 times 2 first before you do anything else. So we get 2,000, 1 plus 0.05 to the 12th, divided by 2, to the 12th. So I would suggest just getting that all ready. The reason you don't want to necessarily do the parentheses, some of you have a tendency to try to round at that location. You shouldn't round. You should leave it what it is, and so then you can put the next part into the calculator. So if we put 2,000, go ahead and try putting it into your calculator yourself to make sure that you're entering it into the calculator correctly. If you're not, just tell me and I'll come around and help you. And so we would then get an answer of $2,689. It's 777, so it would round up to 78 cents. Okay? So it kind of makes sense. We gained $689.78 interest over that 6 year time. So, do we have any questions on number 6? Any questions on number 6? So there's number 6. I'm going to let everybody catch up to number 6, and then we'll do the last 2. And then if you did this on paper, you can take a picture of it. Yes? Yeah.
Okay, so enter this one for me, so I can just see it. Enter link we're going to the You can hit times, or you can just put the parentheses, because we don't know that it's times, so it's right in front of the parentheses. So add your parentheses, both of it. Add your parentheses, and then you're gonna use this one right here. Let's make sure we got this one. Yeah, there you go, and then you see this one, right behind it is 5 or bigger, so the 77 becomes a 7. Always look at those two decimals. You see what you did wrong? Okay, perfect.
Anybody else need help with what they're entering into their calculator?
Yes.
It's just very easy to mess these up when you enter into a calculator. So if you're not getting it right, show me what you're doing.
I don't know what that is. My main question is how to enter like this.
Oh, yeah, let me show you. Okay. So first do your 2,000. And then either times, or you can go directly to a parenthesis, they both will multiply. Do the 1 plus 0.05 divided by 2. End your parenthesis. Now, if this is the one you want, it's gonna make it power. And then if you do 6 times 2, you've gotta use parentheses again. That's why I like just jump into it 12.
Okay, that's
Perfect? I don't know, they look reasonable. I'll tell you in a minute. I haven't done the answers yet. I don't know. Let's make sure.
You're kidding, right?
No, I'm doing the answers right now. You multiply, and then make sure you're doing the power. And you can do this, you can do this, you can do exactly what you said, just make sure you multiply. That will work. Are you getting the same thing I'm doing?
Swear.
Let's do the way you were talking.
I'm taking it under 25.
Plus 0.05.
Oh, you know what I mean when you like that? Yeah.
It should have been the 2. Yeah, see, make sure, that might be your problem. This isn't the time.
That's the only.
Gave you
That's
your
the end, there you go. This is
No.
the end
No
number.
lie.
One, semi-annually, 2, monthly, 12. It'll be the same.
Yeah.
Looks like we had the same here.
Okay.
Fine.
My turn again. Semi-annually, just use
Annually is
You just put this in the
James, come on.
Oh.
James,
Try it on the next one. Okay, anyone else need to see calculator info?
This starts a little more going.
Okay, let's take a look at the last 2. And then we're ready to go. Okay, number 7.
Nope.
Our P is 10,350. Our R is 2.9%, which is 0.029. Our time, 2.5, you can use 2.5. And then our N. This annually means that our N is 1. Okay? Just think, how many times would that mean that something happens per year? If it only happens annually, it's once a year. Yeah, the annual sale, the annual tournament, the annual whatever, once a year. Monthly, I'm on the test or on the quiz, I'm going to use monthly, annually, semi-annually. I'm going to only use the ones you see here. I'm not going to, Okay, so our amount, 10,350 times 1 plus 0.029 over 1. And our power is going to be 1 times 2.5, which you can just do right now is 2.5. Okay. And let me do that for you so we can check our answers. And when rounded to the nearest penny, we get $11,116.77. Did you get that? Yeah. Okay. Now, the hardest one is number 8. Only because it says months. Our time always has to be years. How many months are in a year? 12. So we're going to take our P as 900. We'll get to that in a second. Let's think. Our rate is 3.7% or 0.037. That's a weird one when it has those 2 decimal places. The time. There are 12 months in a year. So if you want to know how many years 18 months is, think about if you take off 12, you still have 6 months. That's a half a year. This is 1.5. You can just put 18 over 12 where your time is sitting. It's just a weird spot to have that. So I would say that using 1.5 years or 1.5 is the better bet, okay? So 18 divided by 12, that means it's 1.5 years in 18 months. And then our N is monthly here, and so the N is 12. So getting that information out of the problem, having it in the correct format, time should always be years. Make sure to use the correct decimal and so on is the hardest part. Now it is using our formula. So we have 900, 1 plus 0.037 divided by 1.5. And then our power is 1.5 times 12. 1.5 times 12, it's kind of interesting. We'll jump back to 18 again. So the 18 number pops up. And the reason that happens is that number is reflecting how many times total we've gotten interest. So if it's monthly and it's 18 months. Yes?
Would it be 1.5 or 12? Under
Not 1.5.
Oh, I did do that. Thank you.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I helped someone that was doing that, and then I just totally did it myself. I'm sorry. So we got 0.37. This is the N. That's the N. This is the N. I'm sorry. The N appears twice in our formula. Okay. Now we got it fixed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now let's go. Now 1.5 times 12 is a good idea to do that. Sometimes it's a good idea to do the parentheses also. But the calculator does... I just, was playing around. The calculator does kind of just do it if we just leave it at this point. So if we enter into our calculator 900 times 1 plus 0.037 divided by 12 to a power of 18, we should get $951.28. I know. Did you get the right answer? Okay, so the quiz tomorrow looks very much like what you see here. I will give you the formulas. You need to know what what each letter stands for. You may use a calculator, round to the nearest penny. Do we have any questions about what you're going to see on the quiz?
What'd you get?
Okay.
$949.
That's what I get to.
What'd you get for this one?
$949.86.
Oh, let's see. Let me do it one more time. So did you round your parentheses first? Like, did you put this into the calculator first and get a number?
Yeah.
If you round that number, you're going to chop off some of the interest they're going to give you. So that's,
So it's better to just put the whole equation
it's
in?
better to put this whole equation in to the power that you actually have a number. Because otherwise you have to sometimes right here make a decimal, that is, a big, long, huge decimal. You can't round that or it does throw things off. That's why I decided today to kind of leave it in the parentheses and then you're less likely to round wrong. Yeah, so be careful. I would just probably enter that part. But I'll see what you did on the paper so that if you do round differently, I will know it and I'll account for that. Any other questions? Okay, so please turn this in old school. If you did it on paper, take pictures. If you did it digitally, turn that in. You can keep it if you already took the picture, so then you have a study guide, okay? Quiz tomorrow.